from various experimentation and all, we have up to 40% energy savings are achievable by carrying out simple modifications in compressed air system and also replacing with efficient consumption equipment. So this particular consumption equipment factor was not touched by auditors for a long time, but now it is high time that we should study. Now, what is the advantages of compressed air system? Generally, we use 4 engines: hydraulic, electrical, and pneumatic. Reasons we use pneumatic energy are clean compared to hydraulic as in pneumatic cylinder, safe compared to electric as in tools. It has punch and speed as in forging hammer or rock drill or a dental drill. You will be surprised to know that this dental drill we use at a dentist, it has got an RPM about 2.5 lakhs to 3 lakhs. So that only compressed air can give. Pneumatic energy is easier to transmit over distances. It can be stored as well. Another most important use of pneumatic air is it doesn't mix with the product, like spray painting, sandblasting, jet milling, air jet weaving, etc. Coming to the next slide, then what are the disadvantages of compressed air? The most important disadvantage is it is 7 times more expensive than electrical energy. And to generate compressed air, you have to have a machine called compressor, which is a high maintenance machine. So the key factor here becomes optimization. That is effective use of resource. In other words, whatever you spend on audit or modification is justifiable, considering that the electricity cost is very high and whatever pneumatic energy you are using is 7 times more expensive. So whatever you save is justifiable. Now, coming to this managing compressed air system. Managing compressed air cost, that is, if you take a 37 kW compressor, that is a 50 HP standard compressor used in many industries, it costs less than rupees 4 lakhs. But continuous running of that compressor for a year generate electricity bill of more than 25 lakhs. Managing compressed air cost is combined effect of 4 cost centers. Now, this is very important. It is a combined effect. It is like a running relay race. Even if one of the players having any leg problem, you don't win that game. So any of these cost centers, what we are mentioning here, if they are having any problem, the whole system doesn't work. Like your generation cost, you have a best possible compressor, but your distribution is very poor, it doesn't help. So let us see what are these cost centers. First is generation cost, that is compressor house. Now normally specific power consumption, SPC, that is your rating value of a compressor. So it should be around 17 kW per 100 CFM. Now I'll brief you on generation cost. It is proven that if you maintain your air oil temperature at the range of 90 plus minus 2 degrees centigrade of the compressor, then you get efficiency consistency of the compressor. You get very low spare parts consumption. You get a good life of the oil. And also, most important, oil carryover is also less. Now I'll give you an example. This is specific power consumption rise of 1 kW will cost per year approximately 80,000 rupees per 100 CFM. Now recently, this efficiency rating value has now been changed to isentropic efficiency. Now isentropic efficiency is a ratio of kW for ideal compression process and kW of actual energy consumed. So generally now, so coming back to ideal cost, ideally if your isentropic efficiency is around 80%, it is accepted as a good generation cost. Now coming to treatment cost. Treatment is now the compressed air what you are received from a compressor is having moisture and oil content in that. So treatment cost is to remove that moisture and oil. So generally most of the industries we use refrigerated dryers, and accepted pressure drop in the treatment should not exceed 0.2 to 0.3 psi. Now again this is the ideal cost. So if you compare that, see 10 psi drop cost approximately 6% power. So that is a conversion. Now coming to distribution cost. Distribution is where you have now compressed air from the receiver and taken to your using machines. So the complete pipeline, the valves, your FRL units, your P tubing, and that is all comes under distribution cost. Now maximum pressure drop in the distribution cost again should not be more than 2 or 3 psi. Now the last point is consumption cost. It varies from plant to plant, but I'll give you an example where a diaphragm pump was replaced by an efficient diaphragm pump, and it gave the same output with a 25% lesser compressed air consumption. Now we come to the next. Now what is happening? There are new norms that is in compressed air practices. See, earlier, whenever you used to talk about pressure drop from compressor house to endpoint, 12 to 15 psi was accepted pressure drop. Not anymore. Now 2 to 3 psi is accepted pressure drop. Now pressure drop across your filtration, that is your treatment, that is dryer and filter. Earlier 7 to 10 psi was accepted. Now it is 3 psi. Earlier there used to be under capacity dryers, choked filter, and generally people used to neglect that because some moisture going to the line, some oil going to the line, there was not much of a problem. Nobody bothered that it has a cost which is you are paying. Now the next point is piping. It is general practice earlier was to use a GI piping. It had inadequate sizing. Suppose you have a factory having 50 HP, there is expansion, there is a 1-inch line. People used to extend that 1-inch line. Then they were not looping also. But now the new norms, we use aluminum piping, achieving very low pressure drop. Virtually there is no leakage, and looping is definitely a new norm with all new piping. Leakages in medium scale plant. About 15 years back, if you go to any industry, 20 to 25% leakage was accepted. In fact, so many people did not know that their factory has got a leakage of 20 to 25%. But now the new norms say that the leakage should not exceed 3 to 5%. Another very big enemy was in earlier days was unloaded time, because compressors were selected, bigger compressors. That means suppose your consumption calculations come to about 700 CFM. Generally engineers, designers used to select 1000 CFM compressor, so that 20 to 30% more capacity is chosen, because that are two design factors they were thinking in those times. One is that it will give a constant pressure, and second, the compressor will get rest. When unloaded, compressor will get rest. That used to be the design engineer's idea. Not anymore. Now we use variable speed drive compressors or soft starters, where there is absolutely no tolerance, no, it is not allowed, no unloaded time is allowed. Now moisture in the lines. Earlier, if you go to any factory, all the machines, will have one vertical pipeline with a pump, and either the operator or the supervisor will open that the valve in between. He will remove the moisture, and the plant is to run. Not anymore now. No moisture in the plant. You open any valve anywhere in the plant, you should not get even a drop of water. Now, pressure at use point, generally for the presses and all, if you stand near the press, you will find that there are high, whenever the operator presses 2 or 3 shots, there will be a fluctuation of right up to 12 to 15 psi. Sometimes the operator is to wait for the pressure to build up, so he will have next stroke. Not anymore. No, you have to have your system in plus minus 2 psi. You have to have proper receiver sizing. You have to have, if required, you can install a flow controller, but this plus minus 2 psi must be there throughout the plant. Moisture traps. There was no importance of moisture trap in the plant. People never thought this is something, this consumes a lot of energy. Very few worked. Then there were so many of them, you will find leaking. But now with the new practices, you can have a water accumulator. We'll come to that, what is water accumulator, which gives a good service at a low cost. Now, the earlier parameter for compressed air efficiency rating value was specific power consumption expressed in kW per CFM. But now, as we had discussed in the earlier slide, it will be isentropic efficiency. So 80% isentropic efficiency is a reasonably good and efficient compressor. Now we'll go to the next slide. Now, what we want to stress this point to everybody, that you have to recalculate your compressed air consumption. Now, recalculating compressed air consumption, so let us understand how this works. Compressed air has 2 forms. One is productive, that is exact demand of flow and pressure. Second form is inefficient form, that is you provide more flow, more pressure, and you have applications like blower, vacuum, which convert the compressed air converted to, or instead of blower you use compressed air, and all these wrong applications, or cleaning of flooring, etc. So in the past, we used to give a lot of margins on the flow and the pressure, and hence the capacity of large capacity of compressors were installed. This higher capacity was able to absorb all poor engineering practices, and all the system used to produce, consume and leak more air than required. Basically on the pressure side, so you generate high pressure, whole system will produce high pressure, consume high pressure, and leak, because of that leak more air than required. Now what we want to say here is, you calculate theoretical consumption of your each machine, multiply by your usage factor, and arrive at your target. You can't achieve this target, but you have a baseline. Now I want to talk a little more on this theoretical consumption calculations. A lot of information is available on internet. Manufacturers, the machines also can give you a lot of information. What should be the theoretical consumption of your each machine? Now, air consumption machines are broadly classified in 3 categories. The first category, machine category, is compressed air expands immediately with virtually no resistance. Like in spray painting, air jet mills, air jet weaving, agitation, or drying. In second, that is B, your compressed air expands immediately but with resistance, like pneumatic cylinders, pneumatic tools, foundry tools, forging hammer, etc. And third is compressed air expands after a time gap. Say like you have process valves, actuators, clutches, instrumentation. This theoretical consumption calculation do not take into account moisture, leakage, and artificial demand. One should be careful in designing piping and receiver sizing for category A. That is, category A is compressor expand immediately. That is, so now you have to be very particular about this category. Now coming to the next slide is recalculating compressed air consumption. So what you can do if in your plant, I'm talking about now small and medium scale plant, wherein you can install 3 pressure gauges. One after compressor, second after dryer and your other filters, and third at the end point, that is near maximum consumption machine. Now take readings at all production variants. Ideally, pressure should be 92 psig at gauge 1, 88 psig at gauge 2, and 85 on the following. If you don't get this, check for leakages, check for dryer and filter choking, check for artificial demand, check for piping, and check for receiver sizing. For leakages, you can use a simple formula of load time and unloaded time on a non-working day. After correcting flow, please check on unloaded power. Now this is a graph. It is a compressed air cost after correction of faults. That is effect of audit. On the left hand side, you can see it is how much you spend on the production. On the right hand side, it is time in months. So there are 3 major parts: is leakages, unloaded power, and artificial demand. Wet air is also a fault. We'll come to that in a little stage. So this is a graph. This is time in months. So first 12 months, everything was running fine. And then after 12 months, there is you have expanded. So the graph went up and up, and at a point where you feel no, something is wrong, and then you start analyzing, you start auditing. Now auditing is a very slow process. You have to give enough time for auditing, and then the graph has gone down. You can see that graph has come even below what your was original cost. Importance of auditing in compressed air system. You can see in this, before audit, the production was 50%, the artificial demand was 10%, inappropriate use was 10%, and leakages were 30%. Now after audit, the leakages and artificial demand was just 7%. This should be your ideal. You should continue with this for all your plant. Now we'll be talking in new trends in compressed air system. When I started my career about 40 years back, we were, in fact, there were mostly used to be reciprocating compressors. Screw compressor had just were introduced, and we had all the dream of having a good permanent magnet VSD compressors. It was not variable speed drive compressors where variable speed drives were existing, but nobody has applied to use on variable speed drive. So this permanent plus VSD compressor is the greatest gift given to this compressor industry by the scientist. Now this is a permanent magnet plus VSD compressor motor. This permanent magnet and VSD compressor, the drive compressors have been around for more than 5 years now, very commonly used. Over time, they have become more affordable, because earlier, about 10 years back, they were costing at least 4 times. So the initial cost you spent, you don't say this, it was more of a fancy product than a useful product. But now it is as the cost is so low that it is as good as a standard fixed speed compressor. Product has matured over time. You can see on the left hand side is your standard induction motor. On right hand side is your permanent magnet motor. It has got a permanent magnet rotor. The windings are same on the winding side. This is a graph. You can energy cost versus demand. This side is air demand. The red side, what you can see is your fixed speed technology. Then this is a variable speed technology, and which is very going close to your demand is your permanent magnet and VSD technology. These motors are about 98% efficiency motor versus 94% in induction motors. Motor speed is adjusted to air demand. There is no need for pressure band. You can fix up a pressure. So you have a great saving because of this no need of pressure band. Compressor starts smoothly, no more starting kicks. And what is important, it is most suitable for third shift operation. Earlier, third shift operation, if it is a bigger compressor, it used to run unloaded for a long time. Or if it is a small compressor, then the pressure is to fall because the compressor is to trip. By the time it is to start, the pressure has fallen. So it is a permanent magnet VSD compressor is the greatest gift, and that is the economical gift given by the scientists to the compressor industry. Now, second one, what we are now talking is single stage versus two stage compressors. On the left hand side, you can see this typical single stage compressor is a male rotor and a female rotor. On the right hand side, it is in two parts. One is the first stage and other part is the second stage. So you compress it to your root P1, P2, that is the most ideal pressure. And in the second stage, you compress it fully. So it's a simple table. You have a single stage where suction is 1 bar absolute. In two stage also you have 1 bar absolute. While in single stage, discharge is straightway at 8 bar absolute. While here in the first stage, you go from 1 to 2.8 bar. And in the second stage, you go from 2.8 to 8 bar. The compression ratio is 8.1 approximately here, while here it is 2.8 to 1 bar. Now, decreased pressure results in lesser leakages. Up to 12% is claimed by the manufacturer by two stage. Additionally, you are saving because of this permanent magnet and VSD. So my suggestion that you should try this compressor. Now there are more suppliers than users. So you can also demand for a 1 month trial. If your demands are low, you can immediately come to know what is the saving. Now coming to piping. Generally, we used to use GI piping in the past. So aluminum piping has excellent internal surface and it is smooth, unlike GI pipes which are traditionally used. They offer very low resistance to compressed airflow. The joints are well designed and give leak-proof service for a longer period. Now there is another piping that is also available, that is called as MLC. That is, it is a composite piping, multi-layer composite. It has got an aluminum pipe which is coated on the top by plastic, and inside also it is a plastic. So only disadvantage of this piping that whenever you, if it is say you get a 25 mm ID pipe, and if you connect it, then that connector has got an ID of 20 mm. So in this type of piping, you cannot have lot many connections. But I would suggest that if you have a plant, you can use it for looping purpose. That is, from end of your plant back to the receiver, which we call as looping. This piping works best because it comes in a coil form. And a 50-meter pipe also you can carry it in, and it's very light. It is non-corrosive. You can carry it in your car and install it. Now you have another point we'll be talking is cycling refrigerated dryers. Standard dryers, what we are seeing today, they are called as non-cycling refrigerated dryer. That means when your compressor is running say 1000 CFM and afterward demand goes low. So if the compressor there is a lower demand, the dryer load doesn't reduce much because it has got a thermostatic bypass valve and still it consumes about 80% power. On the graph you can see that you have an inlet load, the dryer percentage wise. This is the proportional energy used, while this is the usage when you use your standard dryer. So presently this technology is used for larger models, but I am sure in smaller models it will be available soon. Now there is one more. As I said, compressed air is the costliest. So whatever saves on compressed air, you should try out. This is called a direct thrust linear electric piston. This is a new alternative for pneumatic cylinders automation. The compressed air cylinder is replaced with magnetic and DC electric motor. Advantages is that it requires very low power, as low as 7 times lower compared to pneumatic cylinder. Virtually there is no maintenance because no outside agency is going inside. It is operating on electricity. It is very silent. It has excellent quick response. But presently, they are very costly. But I am sure time to come, the cost will come down because normally what happens if there is a new product, there is something called as intelligence cost. When it becomes mass produced, that intelligence cost goes on reducing. It comes to the material cost. So the material cost is quite low. It will sooner or later. This will replace a lot of pneumatic cylinders. Now this we were talking earlier also, that moisture removal by adding water accumulator. See, if you take any receiver, you will see that moisture is on the sides of the receiver. Moisture is never at the bottom dish. So whenever you have an auto drain trap, if you have a standard timer based auto drain trap, it throws out more air than water. The level based auto drain traps work very well, but they are costly and they are very delicate. They are extremely costly. Motorized auto drain traps work well, but again same thing, they leak more air. So what we suggest that you develop a water accumulator before your auto drain trap. So water accumulator will accumulate water because you can have, and secondly, because of this, your number of operations per hour. Now normally people use every 5 minutes or 10 minutes operation of an auto drain trap. So if you use this type of water accumulator, then you can have maybe 2 hours or 3 hours operation also. And then if you use a motorized auto drain trap, that is motorized valve, it will remove, it is a 12 mm opening. So there is no reason that your auto drain trap will ever choke. Plus, since you will be operating every 5 hours, the life is of the auto drain trap is lifelong. The next is exhausted air recycling system. This allows user to reclaim part of compressed air after work is done. So air can be collected and sent back to the compressor. This compressed air recovery system is used by some PET bottle plants and some process plants, but it is not used for general industry. Advantages claimed are power saving as high as 40%. There is a noise reduction definitely, and airborne contaminants are reduced. Still, this system has some practical problems for general industries. So I am waiting for somebody to design a proper tool, and no doubt a compressor also requires to be designed so that it will, the combination works. This is a tandem dryer. Tandem dryer, so normally moisture is removed by 3 processes. The first is momentum transfer, second is heat transfer, and third is mass transfer. Momentum transfer means you have a compressed air laden with moisture and you either have a centrifugal action, or you have a baffle which will suddenly change the direction of water. Heavier water particles will fall down and lighter air goes up, which is called as momentum transfer. Second is heat transfer. Heat transfer is our water cooled after cooler or air cooled after cooler is a heat transfer, or even a refrigerator dryer is heat transfer mechanism, where in a standard principle at every 10 degrees drop in compressed air temperature, moisture quantity halves. So in refrigerator dryer, you suddenly reduce your temperature, so moisture separates, and then air with whatever less amount of moisture goes out. The third technology is mass transfer. In mass transfer is like your desiccant dryer. You adsorb the moisture on the periphery of the ball and then later on reheat it or remove that moisture. So in this case of tandem dryers, your first half part A, you can see it is a refrigerated dryer. So most of the water is removed. And second part is a refrigerated desiccant dryer, which is say 1/5 of the size. So your cost comes down, your footprint comes down, and you get whatever air dryness you require, minus 40 degrees centigrade also, and footprint is very small. Most important is cost comes down, because desiccant dryer requires change of desiccants, and there are blower problems and all that gets reduced. Now another new product is catalytic converter. See, continuous duty oil-free compressor, high on capital cost, high of maintenance. So there is a via media that, and what happens this, if you have oil removal filters, you have limitations on removal of oil in vapor form. So in certain applications, after some time, you find that you get, even if you use good quality oil removal filter, you do get oil in vapor form condensed there. And some application they don't accept that. So catalytic converter can be used for giving totally oil-free air. And the byproduct that comes out is carbon dioxide and H2O. Water comes out from this. It is a very good product, but still very expensive. I am sure at times to come, you will have much cheaper catalytic converter, because it is basically an automobile product. If somebody uses this technology intelligently, I don't think the cost presently. See what happens whenever you have a new product, there is something called as intelligence cost and something called as material cost. As the product becomes old, or people understand that this intelligence cost is nothing great intelligent, so that cost goes on reducing. So I'm sure the catalytic converters will replace oil removal filters and give a very good quality of oil, this air. Now, do's and don'ts to remember, things to remember. You have to achieving theoretical demand should be your target. Try to follow new norms. Reduce unloading power to 0 by using either VHD compressor or other good starting mechanisms like soft starter. Maintain low artificial demand, control leakages, and ensure no moisture in the lines. Moisture is also an indirect creator of leakage, because it spoils it washes out your lubricant. Never use compressed air instead of blowers or vacuum pumps. Avoid floor cleaning, avoid human cleaning, and use special nozzles and amplifier wherever possible. You get very good nozzles now instead of directly blowing air, so that reduces a lot of compressed air consumption. Generally, 85 psi is a good enough pressure for most of applications. Ensure plant variation in 2 to 3 psi range. Get plant evaluated for energy for compressed air every 6 months. I request all plants that because normally I've seen energy auditor, they make a report, and that report doesn't really give any saving. That report is, according to me, just a paperwork. he comes and checks the compressor efficiency, check the piping, some leakage, and report is made. But what matters is all these 4 costs must be reduced by the auditor. Now lockdown will start slowly get over. We'll come out of lockdown, but after lockdown days, we're going to be very competitive. Every KW counts. The key factor is optimization, effective use of resources. Make theoretical consumption as your base point, and as far as possible, stick to new norms. Now, small suggestion on restarting of compressor. Take all steps as if commissioning a compressor. Change all consumables like oil, oil filter, separator, and air filter. Before starting, drain water from wherever possible, that is in after cooler and moisture separator. Check motor and power cables for insulation. Check control panel cables. For refrigerator dryer, drain water and flush dryer. You remove the outlet of the refrigerator dryer and flush it for whatever metallic particles by opening the discharge line. If you have a GI old pipeline, flush it with compressed air, because there are chances that in the last 2 months you have a lot of rust flowing in it. For next 5 to 6 days, keep a check on FRL units for pipeline dirt and dust. I think we have covered most of the points I wanted to raise. Any questions you can definitely ask, or you can send it to Chetan or me on my email. Over to Chetan.
Yeah, thank you very much, Nagarkar ji. Before to proceed for question and answer,
yeah,
let me just give you some background to every participant. That Mr. Nagarkar and I have been working in air compressor. I met him through one of the conference when we organized. I have learned many more things from Mr. Saito-san, who is from the Hitachi air compressor from Japan, who is also attending this program, this e-session. I have learned many more things. He is my master in compressed air. So we 3 of us are doing, tremendous efforts, or putting tremendous efforts to educate and to spread the awareness for, the compressed air system efficiency and reducing the compressed air cost. Now, you might have seen through the presentation of Mr. Nagarkar, there are very unique and very, the tactful points which, normally we don't think so. For any energy saving in air compressor, people see just arrest the leakages, reduce the pressure drop, and once that kW per CFM is achieved, okay, we have achieved the efficiency in compressed air. But is it not from air dryer to filters and everything? So now, the floor is quite open for the question and answer. So I have received some questions. I'll just ask these questions one by one to Mr. Nagarkar. In the meantime, those who have got questions, please, those who have got a question ready, they can put it in chat window. So the first question to Mr. Nagarkar is, could you please explain more in detail about the artificial demand? What do you mean by artificial demand?
Yeah, artificial demand. Suppose you have a compressor house and you have a compressor, you accordingly you make design calculation, make a piping. Now after some time you expand your plant, so you have another shop which is connected to this pipeline. So many a times the receiver sizing is incorrect and the pipeline sizing is correct. So what happens? The last user who is using compressed air starts shouting that I am not getting pressure. Your compressor house pressure is 100 psi, but I am getting only 80 psi. So what generally people do? They raise this pressure, compressor house pressure from 100 to 110 psi. This person is happy now because he starts getting little more pressure. In the process, what has happened? You have generated, and see what is most important, that because of this artificial demand, leakages also go up, because you have a small hole of 2 mm. Suppose it is leaking 6 bar, say 10 CFM. At higher pressure, it leaks more. So you have increased the pressure, so the end user is happy, but in the process, you have leaked more, you have generated more and consumed more. So your power bill has increased. So this is called as artificial demand. The artificial demand has to be studied by using digital pressure gauges at 3-4 different points, where you will find out that there is a vast difference between what you are generating and what you are consuming. So artificial demand has to be reduced best possible way. That is, either you make a good piping. Receiver sizing plays a very important role in artificial demand, because people select a receiver on compressor size. Actually, compressor size you should not. You should select receiver on the highest consumption point of the machine. So receiver plays a big important role in artificial demand. If you have proper receiver sizing, proper piping, and no doubt the lowest leakage, you will not get artificial demand. Artificial demand is nothing but an error. Anything else?
Okay, thank you. So thank you very much, well explained. So there is one question: the new norms that you have presented, are those representing any standard, or are those something like only the desired one?
Which one? Which one?
The new norms.
No, there is not a standard, but if you refer to best practices, either British Compressor Association or US Compressor Associations, they are having certain norms. But no, your Indian standards and all, they cannot tell you what should be the generation cost or treatment cost. That is, your electricity bill tells you how much you lose every month.
Okay. So, hello.
Yeah.
So there is one question, related to this only, the artificial demand, you can say if there is a 100 CFM is getting generated, and if the leakage during the audit, it found that the 20 CFM is a leakage.
Okay.
Then, what could be the actual productive usage? That is what the question is.
Yeah, I don't get you. Can you repeat?
The 100 CFM is the generation and 20 CFM is the leakage. So the actual productive usage is.
Right. Now see, it is like this. That first thing, what you are, for any of these calculations, what you have to reduce is your leakages, because leakages will give you very wrong results. Because leakage is as good as, suppose you are having 4 machines, it is like running a 5th machine.
Okay.
So unless you stop leakages, you cannot find out what is artificial demand. So what best you can do is you stop leakage first, and then use digital pressure gauges and run your plant, and even then you find that you have a very big variations. That means there is an artificial demand. Artificial demand is you are generating more than what is required.
Yeah.
You should use what is the lowest acceptable pressure for your equipment. Why? Suppose your equipment can run at 80 psi. Why should you feed it 100 psi? That is the reason of artificial demand. Artificial demand has to be reduced.
Yeah. So I'll also put one point here is that new norms are basically which are very because normally what if you say that the compressor. Hello.
I can't hear you.
If you say that the compressed air system. Hello. I would like to just add to your point only.
Right.
So normally people say my system is efficient because my kW per CFM is good. That is not so. So to monitor all those, the new norms which Mr. Nagarkar has explained, then only you can say that the entire compressed air system is efficient. So now there is one.
No, it is like a. Yeah.
Yeah. Please.
Yeah, it is, as I said, it is like a teamwork. It is a relay race. If one of the runners is having a foot problem and is not able to run properly, you lose. So you have to have all these 4 cost centers must be controlled.
Yeah. So there is one question: how to determine artificial demand? Generally, OEM mention about pressure. So how to decide the exact artificial demand?
Artificial demand, you have to use digital pressure gauges and a data logger. Okay.
Okay.
Now you put one data logger, one connection immediately after compressor, second connection after the treatment, that is dryer and filters, and you have another two connection at the end of the plant and one near the highest consuming machine. Now these data loggers, you get a pressure in PSI in 2 decimals in that is, you get a pressure in say 22.22 PSI, such an accurate pressure you get. So if you apply to your machine, then you can immediately find out why you are compressing more, because your machine can run. If you plot a graph, then you will find, like I'll give you an example. Long ago, say 25 years back, we did audit at Tata Motors in their vehicle assembly, that tire assembly plant. Now that assembly person told me that they got a in earlier days they used to have a printer called as a rotor printer, so drum printer. He says that when my pressure goes to 85 psi, my torque develop is not proper, so I am very particular that I must get 85 psi on the printer. So the gauge was showing 85, but when we had the data logger put there, we found that whenever there used to be a dip, that used to go right up to 67 psi. That 67 psi was not shown on the pressure gauge. Pressure gauge was still showing 85 psi because it is a dampened pressure gauge. So as he was tightening some bolts at 67 psi also, because he was not knowing your pressure. So that 67 psi to 85, that is called as your artificial demand. You are unnecessarily, you are increasing that. If your torque is correct, then we gave him proper piping, proper receiver sizing, and a flow controller. That flow controller will give you a pressure variation in plus minus 1 psi. So that there is no fluctuation, there is no artificial demand. All energy is transmitted to torque convert, that is your nut torque. Okay.
Thank you. So we'll just take 2 more questions because we have got time limit now.
Right.
Only 4 minutes to go. So what is your view on cost effectiveness of normal dryer and 3-stage dryer?
Normal dryer and
3-stage dryer. What is your view on that?
No, I don't get it. Normal dryer and that is refrigerator dryer and heatless dryer.
Yes.
Is he asking comparison of the refrigerator and heatless dryer?
Cost effectiveness, which will be better?
No doubt, refrigerator dryer is the cheapest. If you have low pressure drop refrigerator dryer, which is liberally designed, you get the best. But certain of your application, see, refrigerator dryer can give best. Refrigerator can give minus 23 degrees dew point that is minus 23 degrees dew point of moisture content. Now if your demand, or if your equipment demands minus 60 degrees or minus 45 degrees, you cannot use refrigerator dryer. These are two different applications. So right. But most of the engineering applications, they accept refrigerator dryer requirement.
Yeah. So there is one these new norms are applicable to any size of the plant, that is small, micro, big, or a medium size.
Yes,
so
yes.
Clarification I wanted to make. So these new norms are quite
See,
useful.
What happens if you have a large plant, then these figures may go a little more, because right. It is not possible to maintain the figures what we have mentioned. It is not practical.
Right.
So you have to give some margin for a very large plant, but a medium scale plant running about 150 horsepower compressors in a reasonably small area, these norms they have to be there. You have to maintain those standards.
Yes.
Like, see, generation cost and treatment cost has nothing to do with the size of the plant. What matters is, and the consumption cost also doesn't nothing to do with size of the plant. What matters is distribution cost. So if you have proper piping, if you have like say aluminum piping with proper design of piping, then even distribution cost is also controlled. So, yeah. But no doubt, if you have a large plant, then distribution can go up.
Okay. So last question, because there are several questions, but we have time limits.
Yeah.
So I'll just take a last question.
Right.
Which are the best flow meters that you will recommend, maybe for a even small company, to manage their air demand?
VP instrument, they have got very good flow meters, but my sincere question is, what is the purpose of flow meter?
Okay. Okay. Understood. So thank you very much, Mr. Nagarkar, and thank you very much, everyone. So we, in fact, as I told you,
I would like to clarify to this flow meter. The whosoever has asked that, he can send me. I can give more data on flow meters.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes. Hello.
Yeah. Anything else?
Yeah, regarding this pre-cooling for inlet of compressor, whether pre-cooling, how much effective it is?
No, actually, there were trials taken of pre-cooling. See what happens normally. This pre-cooling, if you ask me, doesn't make much sense. If you take, because if you take an oil-injected compressor, pre-cooling only will reduce your temperature, but it doesn't reduce your cost per. If you there are experiments carried out that at different temperatures, they tried 20 degrees, 30 degrees, 40 degrees. Your isothermal heating of air remains same. There's not much of a difference. So pre-cooling is possible in reciprocating compressors. It doesn't make a big sense for oil-injected screw compressors.
Okay. But effectiveness means?
No, as I said now, for oil injection compressor, compression process is entirely different than a simple oil-free reciprocating compressor. It makes a difference there. But
okay. We'll stop here. I would like to, Nagarkarji, I'll let me inform everyone that we will be uploading this video on the YouTube channel of ours at MCCI. So we'll also try to share the copy once we receive it from the Mr. Nagarkar. We'll also, or you can see that directly on the video itself.
Right.
Special thanks to Nagarkarji for preparing such a beautiful presentation, which is very practical and realistic and insightful. Special thanks to Mr. Saito-san and Tachibana-san. Thank you for participating from Japan.
My regards to both of them.
So there are, the participation were there from all the industries particularly. So I am very thankful, and I hope this presentation they might have liked, and they will also provide the feedback. And just due to time limit, we are just winding up. But of course, there will be a couple of such sessions in future where we can connect to each other. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.